Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see in the picture today, we're going to explore an interesting hypothetical scenario of what if Issei was betrayed by everybody, and was the son of the legendary Dark Knight Sparda. This is a Devil May Cry solo leveling DXD fanfic. Issei Hyoudou is betrayed by everyone in the supernatural, being the leaders, his girls, his partner, everyone, to the point where he has nothing left but one girl. Saved him, and now he tries to push himself to get stronger because without strength, you can't protect anything. So he vowed to work hard and protect his new family. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Also check the description for more informations. Now, let's start the part 1. Prologue: The choice. Issei Hyoudou was betrayed by the supernatural leaders and the woman that said to love him after extracting drag out of him, who turned out to be a woman, and gave him a punch on the stomach on ruining her image and be called joked by everyone, who turned out to be Dre but is called Elia, and left to the side of his ex-harem new lover and new pillar named Ash, and after take the evil piece out of him and remove all trace of office power, including Great Red, who is also a girl, and kick him into a magic circle to send him away in a transport circle. And what was even worse was being told that he was disowned by his parents, and all his stuff was burned with tears in Issei and a look of anger towards Ash, and was going to reveal his identity, but was teleported away in a forest with a look of lost and broken. But all of a sudden someone came to save and help him to recover. It was Sikvara, who brought Issei to a cabin and has been taken care of for a week by staying by his side and watch over him to make sure he doesn't do anything stupid like killing himself. But in the end of the week she had to go, or else her parents and everyone would get suspicious of her. So she gave Issei a phone in case he need to call Sakvara, ask her if he needs anything. When she left, Issei wasn't motivated to anything pervert and just let his true self come out and decided to fool around with his new phone, like get apps and watch videos out of random. But that became the start of the new Issei. The video he had just watched was a motivational videos. After listening to it, made Issei got up with a few tears, but with a face filled with determination, as Issei wiped his tears and walked to the desk, and began to write a list on what he remembers being the X-pillar about information about dungeons, labyrinths filled with dangerous monsters, and locations of missions that were disregarded for not being important, and monsters that threatened the humanity and supernatural, and make his new goal that was to save lives. So Issei begins to train his body to be more resistant, while also trying to get stronger, faster. But that all changed when he discovered the little power he still has from Office and Scarlet Aka Great Red. With Scarlet power certified his body, his skin became even more resistant, and helping out with his strength and muscles, including his blood, gave him a new ability such as being regeneration that surpasses even the Phoenix. How did he figure this out? He accidentally stabbed himself with a sharp tree branch by falling from a tree. With Office power increased his magical reserves, slowly growing each time he uses it to the point of exhaustion, but by doing it made his magic reserves increase further. But the craziest thing he has done is to attack himself with magic to build even more resistance against magic, and to the point where it succeeds, he increases his magic reserves, well, also increasing resistance, so win-win. But making his body extremely exhausted and wounded, but to him it showed results. And also discovered small amounts of dragonic and demonic magic he has, but they were so little that he would only be able to use it once, to the point where it would disappear. So Issei decided to increase his demonic energy with the power of Office, although this completely backfired, making his demonic energy explode inside his body, almost turning him into a devil. But with Issei's determination in the will to make sure he does not turn into a devil, pointed all of his demonic energy into his right arm, but sadly, the amount of demonic energy was too much, causing his arm to start morphing and bleeding. With no intention of stopping, he would grab the sword that he received and begin to store the rest of the demonic energy into the sword. For some reason this was working, and it surprised him that it changed shape, as he was dedicated to his demonic energy into it to relieve him from the pain. Slowly, the pain went away, but the results were shocking. His right arm became that of a demonic red arm with glowing blue cracks in his sword. After that happened, he decided to take it slow with the dragonic powers. Suddenly he learns how to use a magic surprisingly 4 type, but they were different than his own dragon abilities, discovering that they had more power, and for some reason, he can eat those 4 types of magic, which he decided to give it a name, Dragon Slayer magic. Reason why he believes this magic could damage and kill a dragon still has not been tested, but that is what he believes. He was happy with the results of his training and is happy with the unlocked powers that being, increasing his strength, his resistance, speed, and the new magic he obtained to increase his growth. He spoke these words that gave him a push. Might controls everything without strength. You cannot protect anything, so I need more power, he said, with a smile on his face. He believes with this new power and the growth of his abilities he will surpass his past self and show the world that Issei no Nero will show them the power of hard work and determined to protect the weak and maybe save the world. But it's not like that will ever happen, right? 1. Now let's get back to Nero. New weapons. Let's start with his sword that he got from Sakura that he requested from her. It was just a simple Western sword, but after the accident with his demonic energy that he named Rebellion, a massive long sword with a heavy double-edged blade. The grip is plain, but the guard is skeletal with a skull design on each side, leading to the ribcage from which the blade emerges. On one side of the blade, the skull is that of a human, while the other uses a horned demon's skull. The power of Rebellion is remarkably powerful than any magical sword. It is sharp enough to pierce the surface of the strongest object, while it is powered by his demonic arm, and it is also one of the most durable objects capable of withstanding hits from any enemies he has encountered so far. Next would be the Devil Bringer, or also known as his demonic right arm. That physical manifestation has demonic power. The arm possesses superhuman strength, which it can also manifest through a larger, spectral arm. It is also capable of absorbing powerful items and manifesting their power. Although Nero displays discomfort with his arm and hides it from other people, but in the end he comes to accept it, but now sees it as a tool to be used against evil. The most notable feature of the Devil Bringer is, of course, its unusual ability to summon a larger spectral arm. This arm can do feats of supernatural strength, which Nero often uses to his advantage when fighting demons and monsters. Nero regularly uses it to move and throw objects much larger than him. The Devil Bringer itself also seems to be highly durable, which when combined with its strength, makes it very useful for blocking attacks. Although the Devil Bringer is constantly glowing, the strength of the glow appears to be linked to several factors. Those include how much focus Nero is putting into it, or how much energy he channels through it, Nero's own stamina and emotional state, and presence of some important objects. Throughout his training, he mastered his own style with Rebellion that he named Sword Master Style, but this wasn't enough for him, so Nero decided to also learn on how to use a katana, and the reason why is because he was born in Japan, so he should also try to at least also learn how to use his home country's weapons. That's when he decided to go off to a journey without notifying Sakura and was at the force of Kyoto this time, training with a katana that he named Muramasa, created by the same way, like Rebellion, a powerful sword that could slice the mountains apart with one slash. But even if the sword is powerful, the person who wields it isn't able to use it properly. But that all changed on the day Issei found himself a master. Her name was Shino Kijiro, a direct descendant of Sasaki Kijiro. She has been watching Nero using the katana, couldn't help but be impressed, but she's noticed that he still needs training to improve, so she came out of her hiding place and decided to teach him the proper way of using a katana. This, of course, made it a happy learning directly from a descendant of a powerful swordsman. Shino has been telling him about Sasaki that amazed Nero and can't help but think he wishes he could have met him. Throughout the days, he continued training under Shino instructions and has gotten better, but she has noticed that something is bothering Nero, and decided to ask about Nero, began to tell Shino since he trusts her and explain his story on how he was known as the Red Dragon Emperor, and how he helped the supernatural leader and his ex-harem until it all went thrown to the trash. After hearing the complete story from Nero, she couldn't help but just get angry and call the supernatural leaders idiots, and that the women he loved only seek power from him to the point where they just find a pretty boy to give him the power, without realizing a person who loved them, and worked hard to make sure they could live a life in peace. She then began to make Nero reflect. Did all the supernatural leaders truly betray him? After hearing that, he began to think and remember the people who were there and who weren't there, and their face expressions, and remembered Thor's face showing that he was in a disagreement with this. Even the face of a goddess, who was supposed to hate men, couldn't help but be worried for him. And remembered when going to the dungeons killing monsters and noticing their souls being collected, where he understood that someone was watching him, including some people who were his friends, remembering a specific Dragon King's sacred gear user, shouting that this isn't right and a girl supporting him. But everyone ignored them, including a team he met when going to Grigori. And that when he began to speak the names on whose didn't betray him, Thor, Artemis, Hades, Sigi, and the brown-haired girl who was the bishop of Sona peerage name as Rhea, team/dog. After remembering them, he couldn't help call himself an idiot for believing everyone was against him, and decided to have a talk with each of them to explain what he's doing and not to mention his future plans. After finally seeing Nero's determination back on his face, she then talked about her daughter, who is also a sword woman, but she's a half-elf, and telling him the story about her husband and how they encountered a monster on whereas she was completely exhausted and being told to run away with their child, and that he'll stay behind and keep the monster away from them. After doing that, Shino ran back after hiding their daughter, but was in shock seeing her husband's dead body, but also the monster that seemed to be dead from bombardment of magical attacks. It seems her husband fought till the end. As Nero heard the story, he couldn't help but be sad. She lost her husband, but she began to speak that day made her daughter grow up and trained under her. She even teased Nero by saying that she doesn't mind that her daughter goes out with him, including on saying she would be alright with her joining his new harem, which made Nero completely surprised. But what surprised him even further was that she asked for grandchildren. This made Nero shout back saying that he doesn't know her, and he'll see about that once he gets to know her daughter more or even gets to meet her. This satisfied Shino and decided to teach Nero his final lesson that being a battle against her. The sparks and the sound of clashing blade, it was none other than Nero and Shino. After another clash with their blades, they separated. We can see Shino with scratch on her clothes, but on the other hand, Nero has some small and large cuts on his body. Shino was about to say it is her win, but was completely caught off guard when seeing Nero's body regenerate from her attack. As she saw this, can't help but get excited and thinks that there's no reason to hold back anymore, and see if he can take all her hits. After the battle, the winner was Nero with wounds healing him as he holds his sword at his master's neck, while she was smiling while her sword on the ground at least 2 feet away from her, as they bowed towards her ready to leave with lessons he learned, as she waved him goodbye until he turned back towards her and say, "If you need me, call Devil May Cry, that's my future business," he shouted as he left for her sight. She now walked back to her home and began to prepare tea and brought it outside to her brooch. As she looked at the sky, "That boy is special and with honor. I can't believe Yusaku would trade him away for a man who looks are the only thing catching. I thought she was smarter, but now it's time for my family to reach happiness. I can't wait to see my precious grandchildren. I wish you were still here with me," Wana said Shino with a sad smile looking at the protract, but then all of a sudden felt a warmth she's forgotten in years, a spectral projection of man with pointy ears as Shino had tears in her eyes. She knew it was him watching of her, as she spoke some words to him. "Even if he isn't here, don't worry about the future of Beatrix. I believe if she is by his side, they'll both be happy and our daughter will have her smile back and our grandchildren," she said with a smooth voice until it got louder with words of grandchildren. But the spectral projection disappeared after the sound of the slide door opened by a beautiful elf with refined features and a voluptuous figure, as she carries her sword by her side. She has long platinum hair, blue eyes, and near pale-colored skin. Her attire comprises a gray robe with tattered edges, a white bikini top and black short skirts with gold accessories. She wears a leg stocking on her right leg from just above the ankle to the middle of her thigh, while her left leg is bare, save for 2 straps and black gloves. She also wears a jewel-adorned hairband and a necklace with what appears to be a sapphire. Seeing this girl who arrived, Shino smiled, ready for operation. Make them meet and get her interested. "Hello, Beatrix. How long has it been?" Beatrix stared at her mother and spoke while sitting next to her. "I've been fine traveling, fighting and eating delicious foods," she says like it was the most normal thing, until talking about food as Shino can tell a sparkles in her eye. It seemed her daughter likes food just like her father, who likes food as well. But Beatrix stared at her mother, who seemed to be tried, and saw her mother's sword seeing scratch on the blade as she found out she must had a battle, and asked her, "Hey mother, did you have a battle with someone or something?" She know, after hearing her daughter day and the question from her state as she began to hear about Nero. "Well, for a month I had a guessed his name is Nero." This interests Beatrix, knowing her mother doesn't let anyone close unless she knows them, until hearing more about him. "I found him in a forest near Kyoto. He was good with the sword, but he was trying to master the kanata. It was difficult for him, but I came in and trained him. I'll say he is strong and a quick learner, although his previous life happiness was taken away from him. And now he pushed himself through and became what he is today," she said as she gave Beatrix photos that Nero had of his old self. "And now his new self also includes a picture of the person that took everything away from him. That how he looks before, and I must say he was cute, but I never imagined that he would look like this, and the white hair was something he requests me to help, and I must say he looks good with it." 1. Beatrix saw the picture and couldn't help but agree that his old look makes him cute and filled with happiness and love. For some reason she felt jealous someone has a nice life, but after hear that his happiness was taken away from him, and now she felt bad for him, and wondering what happened to him to change. She couldn't help but be curious, since they're now the same, as she stared at the new look of him, and couldn't help but think it must have been something serious. But he still has his smile, even if it's not like his old one. But they still felt the same. That when switching to the next picture that show a different male, but for some reason there was marker on it with a person with a mustache and say "I'll kill you," she could see that this is the person that took everything. She saw what her daughter was looking at and began to giggle about Nero and told about him. "Well, that man is named Ash. Please ignore the marker written. He told me he had to relieve him after destroying all pictures of him. And as you can see, he now starts to marker him at quite funny," she said with more giggles, but then gave her daughter a serious look and warned her about him. "Be careful with that man. He may seem as a kind young man, but after hear about him from Nero, he said that a disguise his true name is Beep. 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 As he said to me, never trust anyone too much. Remember, the devil was once an angel," and I couldn't help but agree with him. "But sadly the people he trusts believe in this Ash than Nero. But I believe in him, he's good person, and I know that he will find a way." Beatrix, after hearing this person, she made a reminder never to visit Yusaku because she knows she'll try to introduce him to her, and she won't fall for it. But then again, she was surprised yet again her mother trusts this person. It seems her mother can see something in him. This made Beatrix more interested in him, and decided to keep a memory of his future business, and remember the name Nero, and said, "If you put all your trust in him, then I might as well try to meet him as well. He sounds very interesting. You and him had a spar, which must mean he's strong. I want to learn more about him." She After hearing that, she began to have a nice smile. It seems her plan has worked. Beatrix is now interested in him and gave her daughter a warning about this man that will potentially ruin her life, and only looked up at the sky, say in the horizon, "I guess one person can make a difference. I can't wait to see how much you will grow, Nero." Line break. Back with Nero in his cabin in the middle of the night, Nero was looking at the table where he can see his weapon Rebellion, and Muramasa with some packs of supplies to go to the mission that the factions have disregarded, and was laying on his bed as he began to sleep. Line break. Nero dream. Nero suddenly appeared in the middle of a wasteland, but strangely he saw two of himself. One seems to be walking ahead, getting further away from him, while the other one was crouching down, surrounded by a sandstorm that seemed to get closer to near our location. "For what purpose am I here?" Nero didn't know what to do, but all of a sudden, being covered by the storm, voice spoke to him. "In spite of everything you've done for them, they hate you." Nero began to move his head around and trying to catch these voices, but then again, another one appeared. "You're moving into the darkness where your ghost haunts you." Nero just stood there, beginning to speak. Almost seems like the darkness is trying to consume him. I can still hear her voice inside my head, Rainer. It seemed like the voices were right. The ghost of his past, coming to haunt him again. The person that is he loved one time before. It seems her words were true. He got betrayed again, but this time by the people he cared for. "I want to kill all of them. I want to tear all of them apart. All of a sudden Nero began to walk where his old self was crouching and noticed the figure of Riaz and everyone that betrayed him in one single person, changing every few seconds, tormenting his old self. Nero began to walk towards the figure of everyone that betrayed him with rebellion in his hands, preparing to stab his sword on their back. But before he could even land a hit, them his that was walking ahead appeared before him, holding his sword, preventing him from stabbing them. This surprised Nero. He was angry, trying to push his sword through, but his other self continued to hold the sword and stopping him. Why is he protecting them? He had several questions, but then he noticed the face of his other self, showing him a face of "Are you sure about this?" Then all of a sudden a tiny voice spoke to him, "Issei Hyoudou doesn't kill people." This made Nero stop and drop rebellion as his other self began to walk away. Continuing his path as Nero just stood there, then more voices came. "All the things you've been thinking about, Nero, make me sad." That voice, where did he heard it from again? And now Nero finally, noticing that he's almost in the pits of the sandstorm, he began to slowly move towards direction of his other self as more voices appeared, some being people he knew, others he doesn't remember anymore. As he heard the voice of Sagi, "You're not a jerk for what I know. I say you see things, you do things. Make choices. Even when you win a battle, sometimes you encourage people, even me." After hearing that voice, he wanted to reflect on the things he has done before and now by everything has done, and said, "I wish I have done things differently, and also the things I've said to all my friends and to people that are still helping me, who I almost consider my enemies." Then Sagi's voice appeared again, speaking to him once more. "None of that matters, Issei, you're my friend." Hearing that voice made Issei have tears coming down his cheeks once again. Nero continued to move forward, but the big question was still in his mind. "I don't know what to do." Those words still lingered in his head. Things have been changing his original plan. He's just been frustrated with everything. He trained his body, but what he lacks was his mind. Then all of a sudden, another voice appeared and spoke to him once again. "You start by doing the hardest thing. You forgive yourself." After those words were spoken, more voices appeared. They were all compliments that made him happy. It was only natural for this to happen. Issei Nero was never someone who wants money or woman. All he wants are words that could fill his heart with joy, give him happiness. But after hearing all those words, someone appeared before him near the end of the storm. It was none other than his parents. His father began to speak. It almost seems like they were trying to stop him. "We are your parents, so please be our son again." Those words started to hit Issei in his heart. The betrayal hurt him so much. The motivation helped him push forward, but there was still a tiny bit of himself saying that he can go back. We can see Nero all of a sudden walked past his parents, noticing their faces were that of shock and surprise as they turned around to see his back. As he continues to move forward, as he spoke without turning back, "I had a father. His name was Credo." Nero finally remembered the voice that told him that he was sad. It was the person that treated him like a son when he was a child, and was ignored by his parents, including remembering a certain girl with black hair and red eyes, who was a childhood friend of his, and not to mention his first love. Nero continued to speak, passing all the ghosts that haunts him. "Sometimes to do what's right, we have to be steady." The more Nero moved, he was slowly getting out of the storm. Voices appeared, the ones that were encouraging him to move forward. And the voice he heard with his father figure, "Credo, those experiences send you down a path. They made you who you are today. And if anyone is destined for greatness, it's you, son. You owe the world your gift." The memories began to flood. Everything he's done that were the right things to do. A vision of him going to try to save Office came to his mind, and he showed a smile. And all the people he helping, remembering the times he always helped people, and especially the traitors of the Gremry Preach. But throughout all of that, he never gave up. He continued with all those experiences he's done. Never once he gave up. So he continued to move forward and was out of the storm. But noticing ahead, his other self continued to move further away. And for some reason Nero was chasing after him. But that's not what he wants. As he continued, trying to get closer to his other self, his other self turned to him. His face was that of his previous one, his face he had when he started his journey on the supernatural. But in his eyes showed serious. He spoke to him, the new him who is now known as Nero. And those words were, "Can you keep up with me?" And for some reason, Nero felt like his body was that of glass, finally breaking and now feeling his body continue to run towards him with the face of frustration and with gritted teeth, trying to push past his limits to his other self, and spoke back again, Can you keep up with me? My ass. Nero shouted those words back but spoke again as he was getting even closer right back at you. As he said those words, something inside him changed. It was like wires connecting themselves, giving him a shock, as we can finally see Nero went through his other self. But Nero did not stop and continued to run forwards while speaking back to his other self, You're the one who's gotta keep up with me. After saying that, Nero continued to run forwards as his other self had a smile and stopped near his tracks. It seems this dream was something that Nero created himself to see if he can continue to move forward by looking at the ace who is haunted, but wants to go back and wishing that everything was normal. While the other one was one that was a representation of him, looking forward towards the future, and as for him who was in the middle deciding on which path. One of them orders forever without aim and whirl towards the future, and the other seeks the warmth of the past, somehow embodying and being devoid of hope by the ghost of the past. As Nero experiencing them, he didn't want to follow either of them, and instead he wants them to follow him who is now running ahead towards the horizon, and saying to his two other selves, It's the choice that make us who we are, we can always choose our path, and I choose to go forward. Mission 1 Preparations and Alley. We currently see Nero waking up from his bed, his eyes that we like amber showing gentles are gone, and now with a touch of serious, he began to stretch and get ready for the day, as he began to do his usual jog around the city. So he left his cabin and got across the forest to end up to the street, and began to look around while he walks to see anything new and to hide his aura from anything supernatural, and he also bandaged his devil-bringer arm to hide it. Nero, I'm done with my training and dealt with small dungeons around here, so I should be ready to fight that labyrinth, just that I need some new equipment, and also I have to talk to them, he said, remembering the ones who did not betray him and also thinking of equipment to take with him to a labyrinth. But then all of a sudden he heard a voice. Don't worry, I'm here for you, spoke a gentle voice. It was a girdle with black hair and red eye on the right side, while left side was covered by her hair as she seemed to reach out to a cat that stuck on a tree branch. Nero suddenly stopped in his track to look up at the girl, and for some reason, the memories flowed into his head, that girl, his first love and his first friend. He rushed over since the tree branch she was laying on was breaking, so in an instant he caught her just like the past, and said one word. Nero, Kurumi? He said the name of the girl who was surprised by being caught, and the person who caught her, and called her by her name, and stared at him. Kurumi? Do I know you? She said, looking at her supposed savior, and staring at those amber eyes of his that remind her of a certain boy who saved her from falling from a tree just like this before. Nero? He immediately looked away and curses him mentally for saying her name without thinking. Sorry, I just thought you were familiar. He said the truth because he was also curious. He could sense a sacred gear in her. Kurumi. She just stared at him and tried to remember someone like him, but nothing came up, so she questioned him. I see. Could you tell me your name? Nero? Well, I don't know if you'll believe me, but I am Issei Hyoudou, he said nervously, not knowing what going to happen, so he quickly put her down in her 2 feet as the cat was still held by her. Kurumi stood there, her face staying the same as the cat slipped away and ran off. She walked closer to Nero to get a better look and couldn't help but let out a gasp. Kurumi. Issei, is that really you? What happened to you? Why is your hair white? What happened to your arm? Why is it bandaged? What are you doing here, and why do I sense you being a devil? She began to bombard him with questions and getting closer to him, making Nero panic and take a few steps back. I'm Skip. With the chibi Nero trying to calm down a Kurumi who is bombarding him with questions, and him trying his best to explain everything. Nero? So yeah, that's what happened to me, but I'm trying to get stronger right now, Nero explained to Kurumi about everything when she left him when they were kids. And where he didn't see Credo anymore, and to the point he just put on a mask in front of his parents, even telling her about the supernatural, how he got involved by being killed by his first girlfriend every one of his battles, and finally his battle against the beast of the apocalypse 666, and finally his betrayal. By all the supernatural, he was even surprised that the girls he risked his life for betrayed him, including Vale, who revealed that he was a she and her name was Valerie in the battle against 666, and confessed her feelings for him, but that love was fake and didn't last forever, and now him trying to push himself to get stronger to not lose anything anymore. Kurumi. She couldn't believe what her childhood friend has been up to. She couldn't lie. She was angry that he had his first girlfriend and got killed. She wished she could meet that person and kill her herself. But she also wanted to kill since she's seen her before trying to steal her essay. No, her Nero. I see that's a lot to take in, Nero. Are you going to kill them? If you like, I could help you. I gotta punish for touching my things. Nero. No, let them be. They'll receive their punishment when they realize that Ash is not the kind person that everyone thinks he is. He had a smirk. He couldn't wait till the day comes when Ash reveals himself and how things will turn out. Kurumi. I see, then I won't do anything, but I should thank that girl, Sapphira, for taking care of you. You need a light in your darkness, she said happily but slowly gotten sad. She couldn't lie, she envied Sapphira for being what Nero need right now. Nero? He saw the expression of Kurumi and couldn't help but be sad, trying to remember how did he always comfort her. So he did one thing. And that was to have her head pressed against his chest to hug her. Kurumi, don't envy Sapphira. She's not my only light, you're also part of it. When I was almost going to be consumed by the darkness, a light appeared for me, and you were part of it. Besides, I may be selfish, but I love you and her. I have always loved you. You were the first person to know the trauma you know. Kurumi was in shock on what she heard and being embraced by Nero, and hearing his words of being part of his light, she had tears welling up and wrapped herself close to him. Nero, I have to tell you something first, how I know the supernatural, and once I finish, couldn't hear what you think. Nero? Scene, she listens on how he got involved with the supernatural. It's now his turn to hear how she got into the supernatural. And just rubs her head. Of course, if something terrible happens, believe me, I will do everything I can to help you. Kurumi backstory. So then Kurumi explained her story. She was returning home to school, and she was suddenly attacked by a stray devil, and she almost died, but was saved by a fallen angel, and she introduced herself as Aaron, the ally of justice, self-proclaimed, and explained to Kurumi about the supernatural, and the creature that tried to kill her was a stray devil, and asked Kurumi if she wanted to release her sacred gears so she could help Aaron on killing stray devils. Kurumi at that time, who had a pure heart, was determined to protect her family and friends, including her special person Issei Hyoudou, and she accepted and unlocked her sacred gear as Ezekiel, and teamed up with Aaron hunting stray devils in her pastime, and ranked up a kill count of 50 stray devils. But then one day would change everything for Kurumi, because she decided to invite Aaron to come over her best friend Sawa house, and to which Aaron accepted, and her reason was genuine. She wanted to invite Aaron because she sensed that she had an aura of sadness, and could also tell she is suffering from some sort of depression. Maybe something involving in Grigori, and her friend Sawa had a cat that Kurumi thought that could snap Aaron out of that state. Since animals can comfort people, however, as she walked up to Aaron, and what Kurumi saw had entered a state of horror, as the body on the ground that was supposed to be a stray devil was none other than Sawa, dead, as Aaron was holding some sort of artifact, and it was none other than the sacred gear. Kurumi despaired deeply, and quickly realized Sawa was the stray devil that Kurumi killed herself. Things are going out of control. Kurumi was going into a Juggernaut Drive state, but Kurumi used her fourth bullet on herself before she would go Juggernaut Drive, reversing time and stopping her Juggernaut Drive and returning to the moment where she started to be overwhelmed with despair. And it was then Aaron revealed the truth, a plan which was to take every single sacred gear in this area and infected humans with some sort of virus to make them seem to be stray devils, and so Aaron can make an excuse that she was killing stray devils that had sacred gear and collect them and give them to Grigori, and receive praise by everyone in Grigori, and to receive the affection of Azazel. After this, Aaron thanked a horrified Kurumi for all her work so far, and causing Kurumi to black out to steal her sacred gear because it was a lost Longinus type. Kurumi woke up and was surprised on what she was seeing. It was none other than Krito who was fighting Aaron in that moment. Kurumi yelled at Aaron, "I'll kill you," causing Aaron to back down and escape since she wouldn't be able to handle Kurumi and Krito in a fight. Krito was checking on Kurumi if she was alright, but deep inside Kurumi's heart, and swore to kill Oren for the betrayal of taking advantage of her once pure heart, and to prevent the virus to spread to other people and turn them into fake stray devils, so Fallen can steal their sacred gears. Kurumi was taken home by Credo, and being told to stay away from supernatural beings. But Kurumi went on creating many clones of herself to make a huge information network, and is trying to get information about Eren to kill her. Kurumi. And that is my story. You must feel disgusted by me. I did so many cruel things. I killed innocent people with my own hands. I thought I was doing something good. I believed I could protect everyone, including you, if I got to see you again. But I was weak. She began to tear up everything she had to do. She believed she was doing the right thing, but instead, she turned out to be a monster, killing people by orders of a crazy Fallen. Nero? He stayed silent. He couldn't help be sad for such a story. He didn't care that she killed people. It's only natural. You have to do it to survive. But to think she was technically manipulated now, that just pissed him off. That person. Oren took advantage of her. And couldn't help thinking her story similar to him when it came to Rainer. So he did the only thing he could do, embrace her. I don't care what you did, even if you have blood in your hands, you didn't know you were manipulated by her, and I swear I will help you to kill her. And because I'm here for you. Kurumi, who heard Nero, couldn't help but shed more tears and wrapped her arms around him to cry more. She built up all these feelings inside her and couldn't release them, and now she can finally release all those feelings, the suffering, the pain, the despair she had to endure. That will finally be put to rest, thanks to her special person who would choose her over the world, and she knew that if he was to decide, he will choose her, and that was not a lie. Nero would choose her over the world. After everything calmed down, and everything began to relax, they then began to talk about other things, to not remember the suffering they had to endure, and just talk, normally completely ignoring the supernatural stuff, until Nero had to explain his future plans. Nero, so far I have to supply myself with weapons to get myself ready for the incoming battle in the labyrinth near Romania, he said, beginning to think where he should go to get supplies, since he doesn't know how long he'll be there or how he'll come out from there. Kurumi, you have 2 swords and you're good in close combat. I wouldn't recommend going in there without a gun. You're going to need a lot of firepower if you said that place is dangerous, and you're gonna need it, she said, as she began to make something appear in her hands, being what it seems to be like a treasure chest, and handed over to Nero. Nero, who was curiously looking at the box in front of him, began to open it, and what he saw was none other than 2 revolvers, being black. As he began to pull the guns out, he began to examine them. Kurumi, how did you get this? Kurumi? I have connections in the dark part of the cities, and I do receive work as a hunter killing supernaturals. I received these as a gift by a woman craftsman. Even though I have my own, I thought I could give these to you like a present, she said, nervously scratching her cheek, not knowing if Nero would like to have a gun as a present, but she was completely off guard. But his next words. Nero? No. These are fine. I was actually thinking about getting some guns, or was thinking about creating my own. I actually learned a type of magic named transmutation, so I can improve it or make new weapons while I go collect stones from that labyrinth. Thank you for the gift, he said, beginning to kiss her forehead as a thank you, not knowing what he did actually put a red. Hirumi, it's no problem, I thought you would like it, she said, blushing as she tried to not be seen by Nero anyway. You're going to see those people who didn't betray you, right? So what's after that labyrinth? She said, to put their attention somewhere else. Nero, after the labyrinth, it to Fortuna. I need to investigate and deal with the threat there, because I have a feeling that's something wrong over there. He doesn't know why, maybe an intuition or a sense of danger that will be born there, but did not notice Kurumi have a face of concern. Kurumi? Nero, are you 100% it's in Fortuna? She began to ask, and worried if it is, then someone they know is in danger. Nero? Yeah, it says. Why do you ask? He noticed the concerned look of Kurumi, and began to think that his intuition is right on the money. Kurumi? Well, that because of Credo, she said, not knowing if she should tell him. Nero? What do you mean by Credo? Don't tell, he's over there, he said, after it took him a while to guess what she means by Credo and Fortuna. Kurumi? Yes, he's a knight of there and a captain of the order, and he has a sister there along with 2 people that are like siblings to them. But recently there another person that joined their family. That place is their hometown. But he said that's something wrong in there, and I resized the message from him. It said I can't go back to what I was. That confused me, and now on what you said makes me even more worried. Nero. He knew she was right. If Krito lived there, and has a family there, he wishes he could have meet them, and his sister, him is he. He turned towards her, and holds her shoulders to calm her down and focus on him. Now listen to me, I'm going to Fortune when I'm done at the labyrinth, so can you wait for me? Kurumi. She was in shock when hearing that Krito is in danger in his hometown, and not just him, but his sister Kiri, and Basara, Mio, and finally Ingvild. But hearing that he'll be there when he's done at the labyrinth, so she'll wait for him, but we'll send a copy there to gather information. Okay, I'll wait, but I'll send a copy and gather information, and when you get back you better call me and not go by yourself, she said, grabbing his jacket and looking at him at the eyes. Nero looked at her in the eyes, and with that look alone made Kurumi calm down, so she gave him her phone number, and they spoke some more before Nero received a text from Sapphira that everyone is there. When did he tell her? It was around the time where he was going to sleep and had that strange dream, so he was going to say goodbye to Kurumi, but she has done something that shocked him. Nero, it seems it's time for me to go home and start that meeting with the ones that believe in me, so I guess this is goodbye. I gave you the address, so if I'm back you can come and see me, and thanks for the guns, I got a name for them, he said as he got up from the bench, but surprisingly Kurumi also stood up and stared at him. Kurumi, yeah, it's goodbye and thank you for everything. You're always there for me like in the past. Honesty, you're my special person, she said as she looks at him with a smile. Nero? Yeah. In this dark world you are my light, and it's not just you. It's everyone that's been with me and still believing me, and I believe there's going to be more lights for me in the future. By the way, I've been meaning to ask you, what does the special person mean? And with that, hearing the word being part of the light again made her blush as she got closer to him and pressed her lips against his, leaving Nero completely shocked. As for Kurumi, she had her eyes closed and having a blush on her cheeks until the kiss had to end, and with Kurumi taking some steps away from Nero, almost heading on a different street before turning her head and said, pretend Nero is Shido. Kurumi. What it means is that person is the one love. Yes, it's you. I love you. Say hi. Do know I love Nero. I'll see you soon and please come back safe. By the way, that wasn't our first kiss, I did took the first one, and if you think Irina took it then you're completely wrong. I'll be waiting for you to return home. After saying that she left, taking a corner and disappearing like a shadow. As for our favorite protagonist, Nero stood there in shock. The girl he always loved in the past loved him back. And not to mention what he heard about stealing the first kiss. He always thought it was Irina, but no, it seemed Kurumi took it away. Being there for a few minutes, he began to recompose himself, and something deep inside him felt light and happy, and with that he began to walk away to the direction of the cabin for the supposed meeting. Line break. The cabin. We see multiple people inside the cabin. They were all sitting in chairs or the couch as they all look at each other, surprised to see each other, main being Sigi, who is staring at Thor wife Sif, and his daughter Brrr. Speak of Sage, he wasn't alone. The entire clan of Sona were here except for Tsubasa Yaura, who joined the Gremry peerage to be with Ash, which made Sigi and Ryaku Saka angry over her. Surprisingly, they were able to convince Sona to participate as well to rest at the peerage. It wasn't only them but also Hades, Persephone, Artemis from the Greeks, and Latia Astaroth, who wanted to see Issei and see if he's alright. The last group is Slash Dog, made by Tobio IQs and his girlfriend Seituju, Natsum Managawa, a fan of Issei's show, Kaki Samajima, brother of Big Breast, Shirgu Nenara, the girlfriend of Kaki. Who would have thought that the quiet girl end up with a loud delinquent? Even me, the author, is surprised. I guess opposites attract. And now, finally, the two last member, Lavinia Reni, and Suzaku Himejima, the cousin of Okino. And now our final person who has been taking care of our protagonist, Sakura Agars, who is holding her phone and waiting for the arrival of Issei Miro. Sakura hasn't seen Issei in a while, only seen when she brought Issei to this cabin, and now she has been told that he's done hiding in this cabin and asked for a building to start his business. And this surprised her that he moving on, or Atlas trying to, but she happy for that. All of a sudden a knock on door was heard and everyone was staring at it until she spoke up. Sigvira. You can come in, Issei. Everyone is here, so no need to be nervous, she said as at a minute before the door opened. Everyone was in shock after seeing a white-haired boy with amber eyes that left everyone in shock except for Hades. It seems he was the only one that knew his appearance, but everyone else was completely in shock. He changed so much. Did he get stronger? What happened to his arm? And why does he look so hot? Nero? Hey everyone, it's me, Issei. But you guys can call me Nero now. I decided to change everything, so I also started by changing my name. So please go ahead and call me that, he said, with a slight smile that caused almost a few girls to blush. Sigvira stood up and walked towards Issei, checking him out, and said, Issei, no Nero, what happened to you? What happened to your arm? Why do you look so different? Answer me right now. I'm Skip. So Nero explained to everyone about the change of his appearance, and his hair was just dyed just so he could walk freely without anyone recognizing him unless he talked. Also explaining about his new powers, explaining that he still had a few of the leftover power by Scarlet and Office, where he also received her regeneration by literally getting stabbed by a tree branch, but also trying to use the demonic energy left by the evil pieces and cause his arm to mutate into a demonic arm, but sadly couldn't hold so much demonic energy. So he released the rest of his power onto Rebellion. After that he discovered a new type of magic with 4 elements to slay dragons. And also his new guns that were given by Kurumi. But strangely, after talking about her, lots of girls were staring at him coldly. That made Nero scared. Nero? So yeah, that's everything. There was more, but he wasn't sure on telling them about his dream, and the voices he heard about power. He's try his best to ignore it, until he was slapped by Sigvira. Sigvira. So you accidentally stabbed yourself with a tree branch and almost died by explosion amount of demonic energy. And lastly, you had a second childhood friend crush that you haven't talked about. She was angry by the carefree attitude he said about those things, like they weren't that big of a deal, and she wasn't the only one angry. A lot of girls who have feelings for the new white-haired boy were also given him stare. Nero? Well, I didn't think it was that important since it from the past, and it felt nice reconnecting old tides. And I had no idea about the regeneration. It came like it was natural, although it's pretty slow for now, he said as a sweat dropped from the intense stares. Latia? Well, I will admit your regenerating is not normal, but from what I can guess is it's that arm you have. What did you call it? Devil, bring her an interesting name, and will you use it at Ash? She said as wouldn't hesitant on helping Nero. Sona, I knew it, you haven't changed, you're going to take revenge and you're going to need our help to make it happen, she said, not trusting Nero since she believed Nero only wanted the girls back to satisfy his desires. Sagi. Sona. I know as I mean Nero, and I know he isn't planning on taking revenge on the girl and Ash. He turned towards Nero to question him. You know something about Ash? I will admit he off like he came out of nowhere, and Rhea started falling for then the rest of the girl. They quoted that he had all the perfect things they are looking for, Sigi said, which sounded true. It's like he was planning on it. Nero. He could only smile and knew his best friend figured it out and said, You're completely right, Saji. I knew you could figure it out. It's just that you said this was all planned out against me. It was to weaken me with the dragon fall by making the girls to betray me and to take all my power away, to not have a disturbance like myself around. He looked angry that the girls believed a stranger with great looks over him, someone who risked his life for them. Sona. She stay quiet and think about it. And everything sounded like a perfect plan to get rid of a powerful threat like Nero off the board and to have the enemy hide themselves with the allies. But Sona couldn't believe that the man she was fallen from is the enemy, but a lie. There no way Ash could do that. There just no way. Nero? I see he almost had you in his fingers. Sona is dangerous, so I recommend that you calm down and stay away from him, and do not let him catch you or you'll be in his fingers and make the clan Citri fall, he said to calm down Sona as she starts taking deep breath. Thor. If he's so dangerous, then why don't we just kill him instead? Should be easy if we sneak attack him when his guard is down, and no one will stop us. Thor said confidently with his hammer to kill this positive threat. Nero. It's and everyone will be turning you into their enemy, so all I can say is keep your loved ones away from him and for every girl to not get close to him either, he said seriously. Artemis. They'll think we can't protect ourselves. They'll think we are just princess waiting for rescue. Then Tho is a fool to believe in that," she said angrily, thinking they can't protect themselves from just a single person. "Brewer. Guess do you think we weak? If so, then fight us right now then," she said as lightning starts crackling around her ready for a fight. And she wasn't the only one. All the girls gave a look like, "Do you really think we're that weak? Nero?" "No, I do not consider you weak. It's just that the enemy is a rotten snake. Sure, he has the power of Delia the Red Dragon Empress as well as Scarlet and Office. That's not what I mean. He's someone that will try to take advantage of you and gather that information to your enemy. And finally he'll bite you and slither around you like the rotten snake is. Because we all know who he is, an old enemy who is supposed to be dead, and his name is Beep. Beep, beep." A moment of silence was in the room. No one spoke, everyone had a terrifying face, the most being the females. Some of them let out some gasp and covered their mouths, almost feeling like throwing up. That person is him, and he was doing things to the people they know. Just thinking about it is disgusting. One person couldn't take it, and it was none other than Sagi. He quickly ran to the bathroom and threw up. Everyone else had terrifying faces. Except for Hades. Reason why is because he knew he was alive. He tried to get his soul but no results. Lavinia, she had her face, completely shocked, thinking what her little sister was doing with such a man. She really wanted to warn Valerie, but for some reason she couldn't. She was angry at her for abandoning Nero, and if she told her she wouldn't believe her. "You can't be serious, it's really him." Her voice sounded terrified. "Tobio, damn it, he really is a snake. He's sneaking and passing information to our enemies. Why didn't I notice?" He let out a shout with anger, frustration as a punch, the wall leaving a small crack as Jean was watching his partner. Sona, for her and other hand, was completely disgusted. She was almost going to give herself to that man, and if she did, she would be broken if she knew who he was. She wanted to warn Rias, but if she said anything they'll think of her as a traitor, and that man will use his influence to destroy the Citri house. I can't believe it. I almost committed the greatest mistake. Nero, I know how everyone feels, but you can't say nothing. If you do, he'll catch on and make things worse. So I recommend each of you to start gathering your forces and prepare yourselves for anything," he said calmly. Everyone was surprised by that, and it was true. They all had to keep the guards up against him, but not too much to draw his attention. "Hades? I see you grow up, boy. That's why you're preparing yourself when the day happens, am I correct?" "Nero? You're right. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get stronger as fast as I can, so I'll tell you my future plans. I'm planning to make my own business, but before that I'll be taking some of those missions that everyone left disregarded. The first is the labyrinth in Romania. In that place, it has great material and powerful monsters. Nobody knows what lurks below the 100th floor, so I'll be the first one to get there. Next would be Fortune. Last time I check on those reports, our spied eye and not mention people important to me are in there," he said, explaining what he's going to do and to also get ready to go to school to finish his 3rd year. Sona. After hearing the explanation, she stood up and stared at Nero and bowed. "I'm sorry misjudging you. I can't believe it. It's so hard to believe it, but I'll support you, not just me, but the Citri clan as well," she said, as the rest of her periods also stood up and nodded as well to support him. Sagi had that smile. And someone else was watching him with love in her eyes. It was none other than Rhea. "Thor. How talk to my army, as well as some Valkyries, who haven't felt for him yet. We'll do everything we can to maintain Asgard. I hope you can support us, Nero," he said, as his family also nodded as well to get the support of Nero. "Tobio. Say no more to us, wherein we'll pass your information on what's going on. Be sure to visit the dog bar, you got that," he said with a smile as well as the group nodded. Lavinia was the only one who was thinking until she stood up. "Lavinia. I mean Neo-kun, I'm sorry for what Valire has done to you. I should have been a better sister." She began to lower her head further. She wanted to apologize to the boy because of her she couldn't keep Valire in line. But then all of a sudden, "Nero? It's not your fault, Lavi-chan. He did everything he older sister would do. This is her choice. So there's no need for you to apologize. Besides, I'm angry at her, not you, so please raise your head and show me that beautiful smile. He spoke gently. That smile was the same one he gave in the past, so warm with kindness. It just made Lavinia blush, trying to hide her flushed cheeks. She turned away but couldn't help but admit that Vali is an idiot. Why betray someone so kind like him? And look at him, he changed so much, he's no longer cute, and it's just hot. Unknowingly Lavinia and let her fantasies take away. A few members of the dog were smiling at that. Except for two, those being Natsume, Suzaku, who gave her a jealous look. Suzaku, I would also like to apologize for Akino acting. If you ever need my assistance, don't be afraid to ask, she said calmly, also feeling guilty on what Akino did. Nero, like I said to Lavinia, I don't blame many of you, I only blame them. My head is towards them and the factions, but I am not going to help them nor do anything unless it involves with my loved ones, meaning the people here are the ones I care for now, he said, with confidence without knowing his actions caused another uproar. All the girls who heard his words began to have flushed cheeks, except for Sagi girlfriends Momo, Hirako, including the two older goddesses who are married to their respective husbands. Ria had her eyes closed and placed one of her hands on her cheeks and letting out fufufu with such joy. Natsume had a happy face, but you can see the hint of pink in her cheeks as she couldn't help but giggle. Lavinia, on the other hand, let her imaginations go wild. As for Suzaku, placed one of her hands on her chest, feeling it pounding rapidly. And lastly, our two goddesses. Artemis was completely red, muttering things, such as womanizer. As for Brewer, can I help but wonder what is this feeling in our heartbeat as rapidly? And whenever she looks at the boy, she couldn't help but read as her mother had a face of happiness, thinking I'm going to be grandma soon. While Thor began to look at the boy thinking if he wants to take my daughter then he has to fight me. Hades. That's sweet of you, boy, but I do not need it of your kindness. If that's all, I will excuse myself. Hades said, but Nero placed a hand on his shoulder and said, Nero, before you go I have something to tell you, Lord Hades. I believe it will come in handy, he said, with a kind smile, and a good idea to get the god of the underworld to support him. And how can you do that, you may ask? Well, pretty simple, help Hades with his love life. He knew Persephone, it's probably not interested in his bones form, so giving Hades the god of the underworld advice, as well as showing him a picture of a form he should take to make Persephone fallen in love with him even more, and to spice up his marriage life a little, and now he took the new form he was recommended. His new form was very attractive. All the girls had to admit it looks good on him, but one person in particularity had her eyes in the shape of heart. She couldn't help but examine every part of her husband, and unconsciously, she began to lick her lips, quickly grabbing Hades by the shoulder and drag him to the magic circle, but they turn around and look at Nero. Persephone. Thank you very much, Nero. My husband looks wonderful on this farm. I feel like I'm falling in love with him 100 times over. You have my support as well, including my mother. If you ever need it, I wish you good luck in your journey now, if you excuse me, she said, kindly teleporting away with Hades. Irem stayed quiet. For some reason the men all gave a salute to Hades. He's going to need it because they believe that she's not gonna let him sleep in a while. Give a salute to Hades. As everyone was speaking about supporting Nero, everyone began to leave, only leaving Latia to be the last one to say goodbye, except for Sakriva, who decided to stay with Nero for the remainder of his rest day before he heads off to the labyrinth to finally set her feelings straight for Nero. Outside the cabin, we currently see Nero speaking to the last guest to leave, and it was none other than Latia Starth. Latia, I would like to spend more time with you, but it's about time that I retired, she said calmly. Well, Nero just thanked her for coming to see him. Without further ado, she gets up from her place and said, I hope we see each other again, Nero-kun. Nero. Of course we'll see each other again, Latia-san, he said with a smile. She didn't like the idea of leaving him alone, but she had to leave. Latia thought of a way to keep in touch with So. Latia. Nero, do you have your mobile phone? She said, half shy because of the question. Nero? Yes. Why? Do you want to make a call? He said curiously as he took out his phone. Latia? Could you lend it to me for a moment? She said shyly and embarrassedly. Lashia just took Nero's phone and then took out hers and started writing something on hers, and then she wrote down something on Nero's. Lashia. And Nero, I wrote down your number on my phone and I also wrote down my number on yours. She spoke in a raising voice a little in order to prevent her shyness from making as her voice falter. I'm leaving, I'll talk to you later, she said to disappear in a magic circle quickly. Nero only smiled because of the scene, but a mysterious fox saw this with a little malice, thinking of a prank to play. Inside the cabin, at the moment where Nero walked into the cabin, a woman appears with her arms crossed and a frown. Sigvara. Nero, she said, looking at the present with annoyance, and with his face of seriousness that she always gives to everyone. Nero? Hello? He said with fear when he saw her faces of seriousness and annoyance. Sigvara. You've been getting pretty close with other girls, haven't you? She said, not forgetting about Kurumi. Nero? What are you talking about? I just get along with them, it's not like we're lovers. Nero thought she would get angry, but seeing how she takes out of boxes of pizza and 2 soft drinks from a pocket dimension, which levitate next to her, and leave them in kitchen, and she instantly hugs the white-haired boy. Sigvara. I see she was very important to you, it wasn't she? Then I don't mind. She said after separating the hug. I miss you a lot, Nero. She said, looking at the white-haired boy, and then caressed one of his cheeks. Nero, Nitc-chan. He said, hugging her again, but a malicious smile appeared on a mysterious fox face when it saw this scene. When separating from the hug, they both embrace each other, where Sakura puts her head on the shoulder of Nero while sitting on the sofa while hugging each other, as the white-haired boy was thinking about the labyrinth, as Sakura noticed a little fox who appeared and approached the backpack and pointed at the pocket, and then runs to the kitchen. Which made Sigvara confused, but she decides to ask her beloved Nero. Sigvara. Nero-kun, what's in your backpack? Nero. Nothing, just my clothes and some things. He couldn't finish, and remembering the numbers of the girls he received and nothing, love. Let's go to the kitchen, he said, pushing Sigvara, but. Sigvara. Are you hiding something from me? She said, looked suspiciously at the white-haired boy. Nero. Of course not, love. We are going to eat something. I guess you will also be hungry, he said, trying to avoid the issue without realizing he's calling her love. But Sigvara was no longer ahead. He looked for her with his eyes and then found her, but she was opening a certain part of her backpack and. Sigvara. Nero. What does this mean? She said, raising her voice. Nero? WLT, that has an explanation, he said, stuttering, as Sakura looked at Nero waiting for an answer. But in that she sees the little fox again with a pizza in its mouth, which points to a place where she turns to see the white-haired boy phone as the little fox leaves again. The white-haired boy realizes where Figueroa was looking as she tries to take his phone, but not even with his quick speed could be an angry girl, since Figueroa took it faster and began to check it. But there was nothing suspicious as she was about to give it back to make it. Hawks. Cough, 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 contacts, cough, cough, it said, pretending to choke with the pizza, and Sigvara quickly removes the cell phone off Nero. The white-haired boy only trembled because of a mysterious voice and saw how Sigvara got a dark aura and threw his phone on the couch. Sigvara. Latia, she said in a small voice. Nero? What happens, love? He said, scared. Sigvara? Natsu Minigawa, Lavinia Renai and Suzaku Himejima, Artemis Brewer, Latia Astaroth, Kurumi Takasaki, Shino Kijiro, she said it, screaming and taking the neck of the white t-shirt. Nero, everything already has an explanation, he said, scared. Sigvara. Speak, said authoritarian and a stern look. The white-haired boy only proceeded to tell her how he met them without omitting anything at all, but she only held her serious look. In addition, she was somewhat annoyed by the fact that Shino wanted to match her daughter with him, but decided to let this go, not without first telling him and making things clear. Sigvara. Well, Nero, I will let him pass by just for today, but if any of them call you again or text you by message, tell them to come and talk to me first about certain matters, and that you didn't forget, Nero, that you are mine. She said, looking at the white-haired boy in the eyes in a dark way. Am I was clear to you? Nero answered, she said with a lot of authority in her voice. Nero, why yes, I belong to Sifra Agars, he said in a military pose and trembling a little. Sifra. All right, now let's go to the kitchen, honey, he said with a smile that scared Nero. Cyphera knew exactly what was happening, but she decided to save it for later. Nero had his charm in his own way, which captivated many women, but that isn't important right now. Instead, she would focus on settling her feelings with the Nero. Nero and Sakura only went to the kitchen to bring the pizza and drinks to the living room, where they both ate and drank quietly while watching a series together. For Nero, it was a relaxing moment to be like this, until Sakura got closer to Nero until she was on his chest lying down, where the white-haired boy only hugs her without taking his eyes off the series. Almost 1 hour has passed. They watched quietly until in the series there was a scene where the protagonists passionately kissed their partner. When they saw that scene, they both stopped watching the series to now see each other. When they saw each other, they both blushed but did not look away. They only got closer and closer, until both lips came together, giving each other a tender kiss that transmitted love. The white-haired boy only falls on the sofa because Sigvara had pushed it, and they continued with the kisses. Both were happy for this moment. The kisses continued and continued, where little by little it was increasing in intensity, and those kisses of love. Now they were also accompanied by lust and desire of each other. While Nero's arms slowly went down her waist, the blonde-haired only raised a hand that went up against his shirt, where she gave some scratches on his chest. The two separated for a moment to look at each other again, but this time with desire. Sigvara and Nero, let's go to the room, she said, to get up from above him and help him. She quickly climbed the stairs while dragging the white-haired boy by the hand. And with that, I leave it to your imagination. In their night of passion, they didn't stop there. They continued for almost 3 more hours until they both fell to bed exhausted by all the sex they had. Both were naked, looking at each other with a sheet that covered them up to the waist, and Nero? Thank you for loving me and for being there for me, Chan. Siegfera, thank you for letting me be in your heart. No matter where you go or this affection, I will always be by your side, she said to kiss again with a lot of love, and then separate in a moment she took his hand to her belly and began to rub it. If I get pregnant, what do you want her to be called, honey? Nero? I don't know, but I know we'll give her a good name, and I don't think we'll have just one. Maybe there'll come more, he said to hug her by the waist. Sigvara, then we have to make an effort, my love, she said to kiss Nero and cuddle more to him, and look him in the eyes. Good night, Nero. Nero. Good night, Sichan, he said to kiss on the forehead, and little by little both fall asleep in the arms of each other. Elsewhere, the ex of the white-haired boy. Things turned out well for them, but again out of nowhere they began to feel their feelings getting out of control. Only this time their heart also made them uncomfortable. That day was, so to speak, one of the most sentimental, and at the same time annoying. But in the same way as the other time, everything they felt dissolved, leaving only desalination in their being. Bewildered by this, they made the decision to consult about this with someone. The days became a week. We currently see a white-haired boy and a blonde-haired girl who are in front of each other. The boy was wearing clothing of adventure with his sword Rebellion strapped on his back, along with his new revolvers Donner and Schlag, ready for the battle of his life in the labyrinth. Both young people showed their affection for each other through that kiss that only conveyed love. After a few seconds they both separate. Sigvara, you'll be fine, honey. What will you do while I'm not by your side? Nero? Don't worry, I'll be fine, I promise you. I will come back. We spend more time together before I go to Fortuna, and after that I was thinking of traveling the world and training some more. You know that my current strength and magic are very high, but not enough. They have Delia. The moment she left me, she took all the power I ever had. In addition to the fact that there was Scarlet in office, they at least tried to take every trace power that has to do with them, leaving me as I am now, as a human. Devil. Dragon. I really don't know what I am, he said sadly. He honestly wanted an answer. What is he now? Is he still human by appearance? Is he a devil with this arm? Is he a dragon with this power? But something inside him keeps telling him I need power, giving him a little headache. But he took it off and turned to her. In addition, we will keep in touch by phone. I will send you photos of the places I visit. Maybe at some point we can travel, the two of us. Sigvara, it's okay, but I don't want any woman to approach you with secondary intentions. Understood. Nero. You know how much I love you, and I won't give that love to anyone. My heart will decide who I love and who I will protect. Despite being true, she knew that the woman that came to the cabin all had feelings for him. Know that those feelings will grow more if they spend time together. so she deducted on her she will approve. She won't let anyone hurt his heart anymore, even if she has to share. She wants them to love him. Sigvara, it's okay, but I'll still miss you a lot not having you in my arms and not feeling your comfort. Nero, I know it's also difficult for me to be without your caresses and pampering, but we will still love each other forever. Si-chan. Sigvara. Nero, she said to kiss the white-haired boy again with passion. Both joined in kisses full of their love and in a strong hug where it lasted a few minutes, then separate as Sakura goes to have the door behind her back and she watches Nero get ready to leave by calling something. Sakura, I love you very much, my Nero-kun, she said with a beautiful smile that he only showed him. Nero? And I love you too, Si-chan, see you later. He said with a smile of great happiness, and with his hand saying goodbye to his beloved until he shouted up in the skies, let's go, or Ayudamaro. After shouting that, something appeared in the skies. It seems to be a small little red dot, but then it grew in size. Its appearance was an enormous flying ship. As it heard the call of its master, it used the magic circle to teleport Nero inside the ship. Seeing how her boyfriend left, only wish him the best and that nothing bad happens to him. But if something happened, she would not hesitate to go to the labyrinth without a caring about his exile. After the departure of her beloved, the blonde-haired girl decided to talk to a few girls wanting to know their feelings for her beloved Nero. Inside Ryotemura deck, we currently see our white-haired protagonist, staring off the skies. He was lucky that Ryotemura didn't abandon him, instead stick with him, even accompanied him in a small little journey to Kyoto in the path of the sword. A small little boat and a young man traveling now, that is a weird combination. Nero. I'm glad to have you here, Ryotemura. Even if my power isn't like before, it seemed you got some changes. Maybe it's because of the new powers I've gotten. Well, in any case, we can't use Apocalypse Answer Arms, but we'll figure something out, something even stronger. He shouted out, even if he's not strong like before, he'll get there and surpass it. As a response to its master, Ryudomir let out a whistle of a boat, and did not tell its master that the new form was because of his devil bringer, and the desire of power coming from Nero himself. Nero, now then let's go. To Romania. To the labyrinth. He said, shouting, some more excited for the new adventure and trials he has to face to get stronger and to get more power. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment below your favorite part. Don't forget to support author and his story, link in the description. Sayonara, see you in the next video.